The front row forwards. So our second last one, there's two big guns once again. Payne Haas, number one. Tino Fa'asul Malai. I forgot to say originally as well, with the dual players, I basically just picked him in one position. I didn't bother trying to pick him into lots of positions. And I picked him in the position I thought most super coaches are picking these players as well. Number 3, Joseph Tapani. If we're going off the All-Stars game, goodness me, he's in for another belter of a year. I know Jesse has a bit of a soft spot for him, so we'll get to him soon. Number 4, I almost regret putting him at number 4 at the moment. I actually would swap him and Leo Thompson because, again, going off the All-Stars game, Leo Thompson, I've got to say, fuck me. He looked phenomenal like that. He looks like now the main guy at the Newcastle Knights who is going to lead from the front and just dominate. He looks so hard to tackle. I'm looking at him going, there's going to be tackle bust galore. Bring it on. I've got him as my main prop forward at the moment, and I actually absolutely love it. Then I'd switch number 5 to Thomas Flegler from the Dolphins too. We've spoken about him in the past. Maybe not as exciting, not as much X factor as the others, but the thing I like with Flegler, for his price, I easily see at least a 10-point advantage getting there, so you can get him up to that price packet and then trade him off to someone else, and I think you'll get to that price pretty quickly for the work he'll do. So, Jesse, take it away with those 5.
I like the top 3, and I really like Leo Thompson. I was very early on Leo Thompson. I'm so glad he played really well because I was just like, yes, it's justified. But Payne Haas is number 1 and clear. I think he starts off so hot. It's, one of those guys, if you're going to justify a must-have in your front row, he's definitely the man for it. I feel like this year isn't as friendly for budgeting. Last year, he was cheaper to start, and we had a bit more to play with in the cash option because there were so many cheapies that we were just blessed with. We could afford to have a lot of these big guys. But yeah, he was a guy that I threw in my team and found very hard to not have when I started team building. And now I've obviously gone away from the premium front row options. But he will be in my team as soon as he can. I guarantee that at the very least. So he's a weapon. And I just see him getting better every year too, honestly. See, when's he going to stop going up and up and up? But no, he's just, yeah, he's a weapon, man. He's a monster. He's so good. All he has to do is to put an offload in his game, and all of a sudden, there's a better Payne Haas than we've seen before. So that's one thing he doesn't really do, man. And he doesn't need to. I mean, look what he scores. Imagine if he could just get 1 or 2 of them. I think he scored 1 try, maybe. So it's no attacking all out of him. It's just him just being a freak out there. Tino's pretty much in the same boat, but he's a bit more, attacking, I guess. Like, the dual position's really nice. He's obviously the dearest out of everyone that we've spoken about here. So 790 is a lot. I probably would leave him at second, though. I just think he might start off a little slower under Des. I'm not too sure what to expect out of Tino just yet. I'm more than happy to wait and see with him. At some point in the year, you're going to have the best props in the game in your front row. It's just going to happen if you sort of budget properly. And there's a good chance that you have Haas and Tino in your team. It just depends on how early you can get them both. But yeah, man, I just want to see what happens with him. If he starts dropping and, it gets pretty favorable, I might make that play sooner than Haas, potentially. It just really, really depends. But I will like to see what happens with him because his brother looks pretty good out there too. So
Yeah.
could be some options, but they do have some plays to get through. So I don't feel like that 79 or 77 point, average is sustainable to begin with. I think it might kick over later on. Bro, Tarpany, what a freak. How good was he? He was on some just nuts score by the end of that game, and he didn't need the minutes really for it either.
He's been one of the most underrated Supercoach players, I think, this year. I do not think anyone has spoken about him. And right now, he's one of those players I could make a very valid argument to have as one of the must-have sort of players when you put into price range, when you put into points that he can get, when you put into the fact that he's in a Raiders team this year that needs leadership. It's screaming for it. He will be one of those guys, and it looks like if this All-Stars game is anything to go by, that leadership role, being that figurehead for a team, just suits him down to a T.
Yep.
It's scary at the moment not having him. And if there's any, like, obviously we've both decided to go quite cheaper when it comes to front row forwards. But if you just want to go down slightly, as you said, it makes it a bit easy to go up to one of those big guns when they start to look like they're really taking off. Tarpany is your golden ticket to that.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade Tarpany away though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you have him and you just roll with him because you're just going to get that out of him, And if he's going to base you 65 off 50 minutes, barely, you can have a 40-minute game and still score you 80 points. Like that's the thing, man. His just points per minute is insane. So I've mentioned before, if you're gonna want to go hard in the front row, if that's kind of the way that you want to play your game, you could do way worse than Tarpany. Jesus. And if you don't want to spend up near 800K for the top two, 650 is a bargain for him. And yeah, man, like it's a pretty thin pack. There's a lot of youngsters in that team. You just need one of these big dogs to step up, and you just gotta. He's proven he can do it. You just sort of want to get more out of him in general. But yeah, I'm very tempted after that. I was already pretty tempted just trying to get a bit more value in my front row because I wasn't liking how cheap they both were, to the fact that I have no front row bench. And I thought, Haas, Tino, these guys, they are going to get away from me if I don't do something. Because with a couple of plotters, they're going to get me what they're priced at, maybe a smidge more of a bump. I'm going to have to lose someone else to get up there. So I've pondered the idea as well, but then I thought, fuck, if I have Tarpany, I don't want to get rid of him either. I'm just getting more and more off Flegler going down to number 4. Tarpany, I think, great move. I'm half considering it again, but going down the list, yeah, I didn't see enough out of him. Not enough to really be like, I need this guy in my team desperately, but it's a trial. You can either say the trial is the best thing to ever happen to a player, or you can say it's just a trial. So there's two sides to the coin, but it seemed to be less. It seemed like he was doing less than he did at the Broncos.
Yeah.
Just on the eye test in general anyway. Could probably run the numbers. It wasn't very impressive. He didn't run much. So it was just a job. He just did a job. And I don't want someone that I'm paying, $475 for to do a job, really. Like it's kind of half the point with him, but you do want that little bit of bump. And don't know. He might obviously get that during an actual game. It is a trial and he's quite experienced to not have to worry too much about showing himself. Like these youngsters have to kind of prove their point, get that position on the bench. He doesn't need a position on the bench. He knows he's going to be starting. But Jared Wallace, man.
Clearly, he was.
There he is. I was thinking about Jared Wallace later in the season when we spoke from the Titans video. Yeah. I thought, fucking, what later of the season? Jared Wallace is back already. He's the guy, man. Like, if you got to start someone, give it to him at the very least. He killed it. So there's an honorable mention.
563K. Nowhere near that price. Yeah, it's not bad.
Not bad for what he did.
The one thing that a lot of people probably watching will straight away think, and I did as well, but there is, I want to explain myself why I haven't done it. I haven't included a Roosters forward in either the second row or the front row forward, and there's clearly a couple of possibly standout players like front row, like Terrell May could be one, second row, Wong. The reason I haven't is because there's still so much uncertainty around who actually gets these spots at the moment for the Roosters. So when I'm picking these top 5 players, I want to make sure I'm picking players who I believe are certainties for that position, are certainties for decent minutes, etc. Where with the Roosters, because there is so much quality around that place at the moment and those positions, I just don't know what the hell is going to happen. I don't think anyone does. I don't even think Trent Robinson knows what is happening at the moment. Like, it just is that wide. Like, the Rhea Hargraves early suspension helps a little bit, but still, like, the fact that he's away, players like Tupanua or Crichton can easily go and play some middle minutes and take away from Terrell May and Lenu and the like. So that's the reason I haven't. I could easily have Terrell May or Lenu in this top 5 because of obviously their upside and the benefits I think you'll get. Terrell May would be the big one with his points per minute, but just as I said, that uncertainty around all those Roosters forwards are why I haven't put them in the top 5.
Yeah. Yeah, and just touched on the Roosters players as well. I don't think he was half expecting Tupanua to be his best forward, to be fair, because he was
Oh, he was
pretty clear.
great.
He was fantastic. Um, I think in a perfect world, he kind of hopes that like Crichton or Wong do the job for him, and he goes, "Oh, I don't have to worry about it now. I can just play these guys." But yeah, Tupanua put his foot in that position, man, with how good he was. So there could be one for us if Tupanua gets the spot. He's the cheapest out of everyone in that
I
second row
said
for
as
the
well in
Roosters.
my preview video of review video I put up yesterday. A lot of people have forgotten just about how good Tupanua was before his injury. Like
Yeah.
he was arguably one of the probably top 5 second rows in the competition at the time, and he was so good at that edge, barging over for tries, etc. Like I think a lot of people are sleeping on Tupanua, as you said. Even if you can get a 60-minute role, I'd be all over him.
Yeah, with 60 minutes, I don't know if he has the massive upside. I think you do want the 80 out of
I
him.
think so.
He's less than 400k, so he doesn't have to really do too much to get there. But if his points per minute is like a point 0.7, which I feel like it'll be around that sort of point 0.7-ish, maybe a little lower, on an average game, it's not a great deal of upside. It's just going to plod along. But he's a really good player with a lot of potential anyway. He's a really good draft option. I've had him in drafts before, and he just does what you want him to do, and sometimes a bit more. So yeah, I do like him for that, but you just have to see, obviously, if 80 minutes
Problem
is going to be a
with
thing.
the Roosters forwards as well is I don't think any of their, especially their back row forwards or anything, will be 80-minute players this year. That's the problem.
No.
So if
Yeah,
we need to really look at that points per minute factor, and that's when someone like May really comes into it, because we know even if he only gets his 45-minute stint, that'd be a good score. we're very happy taking that as super coaches, where
yeah,
the back row is even with Wong, like he's a very great player, a very great upside player, and in the super coach side of things as well. But if again, like if he's only getting a 60-minute stint, like yeah, it could still be enough. Like he has plenty of attacking upside, but there's a huge bit of area concern when you compare it to the rest of the second row forwards that are around that price point, and as you said, that little bit more expensive as well.
mm,
So much to go on with the Roosters, and even Teamless Tuesday, I think won't help us. Like it's going to actually be one of those things with the Roosters. We need to watch the
yeah,
first few weeks, which may mean we miss out on some early points, but it may benefit us all in the long run.
yeah. I'm more than happy to sacrifice a couple rounds worth of points because I'll have someone else. You know what I mean? And they're
Yeah,
not going to make no points. Um, just to be sure that I'm not going to get caught out having the wrong one.
yeah.
That's kind of where I would sit with it.
I'm leaning that towards that as well.
Yeah, if we can give it about, at least 3 weeks, wait to see what happens with their pricing, you kind of get an idea on who looks like they'll be the guy for it. I'm more than happy to make that switch over, providing they look really appealing. But again, there are so many forwards to get through that you just can't be an 80-minute forward in that team with how much they've got to rotate. They might all play 50, 60 minutes, all of them, and just mix around. Buying the two props might get lower, might get between, or Collins will probably get 50. Terrell May, fingers crossed he gets 40 because that'll probably be 60 points for him. So we'll just have to see. But there is a lot of faults to get through, and there's probably going to be 2 or 3 that don't even get a game. They don't even get on the bench. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to have those guys if I can avoid it. So that fifth spot, you could give it to any of those guys. Just briefly touching on off the top of my head the players that we've spoken about that we're all pretty hot on. Leo Thompson, pretty much from like maybe even the first team reveal. I was like, this could be Thompson's best season. I'm very keen for it. We all know about the night straw, considering we've talked about Ponga 1,000 times. Um, yeah, man, he's better than both Saifidis. He's looking good.
I should have had
Getting
Sam
chances
Hughes
again.
in. He's our man.
Sam Hughes, he's a big one too for the cash side of things. Totola, I've been so hot on Totola. He's not getting out of my team. Terrell May's one. Um, there's so many in that 400s, and you don't even you can go up again, creep into the fives. A lot of people are pretty hot on Ruben Cotter. I was thinking about because we put that little call out there to the listeners, thinking why is everyone so super hot on Ruben Cotter? He's got the captaincy, so you would think naturally he would be on the field longer than he has been. You know, if he's probably going to start, that was his issue, that he wasn't getting starts out of it.
Didn't help
Um,
Tamalolo.
well, we all know why that's the problem. Starts with a T and ends with an odd Peyton. Ding dong.
Pod
Um,
Pod Tayton.
Pod Tayton. Potato. He's a potato. Yeah, look, I'm still not as sold on the 20-30% ownership, whatever it is, but I can kind of see the point. Expecting him to be a point a minute player, which he is, but to just be getting 60 plus minutes. Okay, fair enough. Still meat and potatoes for me, man.
Yeah,
So,
I
you can
agree.
throw him in there. 540, he might have a slight bit of upside. But again, man, 27%, fuck, I'm missing something. Max King is someone that I've been pretty keen on too, but again, I look at my side after I've done it a couple times, and I'm thinking, fucking hell, it's the Bulldogs. I might have 6 of them, 7 of them. I'm like, I can't afford this. It's like way too many. So I just think with the lack of depth in their forward pack, Max Thompson moves into a new gear. Sam Hughes could come into it as well. So I'm like, there I've got 2 of them. Shit.
Yeah.
You got Josh Curran potentially. You're gonna have Hutchison and maybe Carraz if I make that play, and then Bronson and Sherry. Like, fucking, where do you stop? There's too many of them. So yeah, great value team, but the 500s, it's a bit of a lucky dip. That's why I'm happy to go down a little bit more, or just play with the top 3. Fanua Blake is a massive exclusion from this list too. I haven't even touched on him. Um, he was red hot property
Hoping you
last
bring it
season.
up.
Hey.
I was hoping you'd bring it up.
Yeah, I wasn't going to let that one slip, but I thought I'd wait till the end anyway. But it's a big one to not even have in the list for a top 5. So you're expecting him to just not be able to back it up?
I just think there'll be too much head noise for him this year. There was quite a few tries in there last year as well.
There was a lot.
I'm not saying he'll fall out of the pack in terms of being a top 5 front rower in the NRL. I still think he'll do that. I just think for a Supercoach point of view, I don't see the real value and appeal to own him from the start, because I just don't know what I'm going to get from him. He'll still be no doubt an enforcer for the Warriors, but I don't know. Like he's
Yeah,
literally that release came out of absolutely nowhere. So who's to say he might not pop up come round 10 and go, guys, I just need to get the fuck out of here. Like
yeah.
I've got to go. Like
No, that's fair.
I'm not going to question his character at all. I don't think he's that type of guy. Like if the Warriors are needing him and going, well, I anticipate he'll stay around, but you just don't know how bad the situation is. It's making him leave either. Like if it's, I don't know, life and death situation, touch wood, it's not for whoever is involved with him. You don't want to wish that upon anyone, but you just, unfortunately, you just don't know. And the fact that he had to resort to leaving a place that he looks so settled in, he's been playing such good footy, and
Mm,
there was literally arguments for him throughout last year being the best prop in the competition. Like I'm talking ahead of Payne Haas at some points, not just at Supercoach, but in the NRL. Like there was literally, you could make valid arguments about that. That's how good he was going. So to
yeah,
leave that and to go to a team where the Sharks, I'm not going to say struggle, like they're clearly not, but I genuinely think the Warriors have a better future and a brighter future for the next couple of years than the Sharkies do. So to leave that and originally that was looking like the only real targets to get him was the Tigers or the Dragons or the Dogs. There's no way in the world you wanted to leave the Warriors to go to one of those clubs.
no,
That just
no,
makes me feel like, unfortunately, his personal situation might be quite significant. And as a human being, that sort of stuff can just naturally will play on your mind. Like you might try and say, "Oh, no, I'm away from it. It's all good. I'm in the zone." But let's all be human beings for a second. If we've got something going on in our personal life, we always say to our bosses or whatever, like, "Oh yeah, no, we've forgotten about it." We haven't. Like it is literally on our mind day in day out of while that's going on. So I just think from a human point of view, I just feel like I just can't start with him for Supercoach.
yeah, no. It's a fair point. Um, Something happened. Like something had to have happened because
Mm.
yeah, he was just doing so well in that side, and it's a bit of a shame. I don't really want to see him leave them because I like that
Me
sort of
either.
play for the Warriors too, because I felt like the Warriors needed it more than he did. Um, But it just depends what that noise is, man, because you got to think like Payne Haas had a pretty rough, preseason himself with the family, especially with everything that went down with him, and it didn't seem like it really did a great deal to his game. Whether you can
His family's
separate
still
that
around
side of
him.
it, hey, yeah,
His family issues were here; they were still local to him. Where
yeah,
apparently with AFB, the family issues are
they're all
over
still here.
in a different country. So
Yeah, so
it's
he's
not
not
just
there
something he
with
can
it.
just drive
Yeah,
to. Yeah.
exactly. So he's separated from it all too, and I think it might just be riding on him. If that's the case, then it's the case. Like, you can't do anything about that. He kind of misses his family. Shit, fuck, I would too if I was in
And
another
credit to
country.
the Warriors. Like Warriors fans, don't listen to this and think we're having a pot shot at the club. I love the Warriors. I love everything
Yeah,
they do. I think the game owes them so much for what has happened with them. And I love the crowds there. I love where the game is at there. And honestly, I'd put another team into New Zealand if it was up to me with the scenes that we have been seeing. And credit to the Warriors as a club. We're going a little bit off track here with a Supercoach point of view, but just credit how they handled that situation. There's so many clubs out there who would have seen one of their best players at the club come to them with that request and go dig their heels in, become back page news about what's going on, and then it becomes an ugly fallout because we always know the player ends up leaving no matter what. At least they've handled it in a really good way, a really respectful way from how we've seen it, from not being in amongst the four walls. And just credit to the club, because I think the Warriors as a whole, as an organization, are doing some really good things. I really like what they're doing the next couple of years. I don't see him falling. I know there's people out there that see him falling. I don't. I think they'll still be around where they have been. And just, credit to the Warriors.
yeah, yeah, big time, man. And I feel like even for Fanua Blake himself, I just feel like naturally the Warriors might have a bit more of a morale boost than the Sharks will have as an individual, as a player. Like,
Yeah.
you look at the playing group that you're with, and I just reckon that it's an absolute laugh with the Warriors.
Yeah.
I feel like, if that side of things wasn't his game and he could just get his family over with him, or, obviously we're just talking shit out loud, there must be things deeper in the issues. Otherwise, that would have been pretty easily resolved. Um, yeah, man, just looks like a good club to be with, especially when they're on the up and everyone's supporting them, because, you're getting, you can hate every other team bar your own, but I feel like you can't hate the Warriors. And it's going the same. It's
100%.
everyone's second team.
Up the
Plus, it's,
Waz.
up the wires, exactly. So, you want to be a part of that if you can. And he has been a very, very big part of last season's, success. So it will be a shame to see him go from that team. But yeah, it's just he's a good player, man. Whether or not he carries it on to this season, I don't think it really matters. Might not be the play. There is still a fair bit of talent outside of him to look at. Last season, he kind of excelled, but you know what? There's a good chance that he goes down and he's in like Tarpany price range. I'd still play with that. I reckon if
Yeah.
it's between the two and I don't have one, I'd be like, I know
100%.
his upside. Run with it.
Accidentally pressed the button there, but